6:35. And Joe Rakowski's got a baseball game to go to, so we're going to start off with him and his report from the Communications Committee, Public Outreach Committee.
Do you need to approve minutes or beforehand? Do you have a quorum for that?
Good question. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 people, so even if you leave, we still have a quorum with Henry when he gets here. So.
Okay, so a few of us met on a couple of occasions to lay out some ideas that we're brainstorming on how we can essentially put together a plan for public outreach from now through February and March. And this visual, which I sent out yesterday, is our first attempt to lay out some of the ideas that we've come up with. The key thing that I think we all agreed to, you guys correct me if I'm wrong or adjust as you see fit, we feel strongly that as a committee, we should be working towards creating a common message and then taking that message and distributing it through a lot of either town events, school events, or events that we organize. Common message, just continue to drip and push the facts out to the town. The other thing we talked about is, and this is probably open for discussion, we believe that the entire school building committee from this point forward needs to be focused on public outreach. It can't just be a small subcommittee. I think our feeling is from this point forward, other than being engaged in these meetings and getting a sense for what's going on, I think our role really is, and any of you can sort of weigh in on this, is pushing information out to the town. So while this small subcommittee has put together ideas and have a plan, I think we're coming back to you saying, does this seem to make sense? Did we miss anything? And more importantly, we would need to get everybody engaged in the activities that are being planned from roughly September on. So some of the ideas, I'll go quickly, is obviously a lot of different media and social media that we can take advantage of. The biggest one being the school website. So we would want to create a common message, perhaps on a monthly basis, and have Dr. Hool update the school website. Take that same message and put it into a cleaned up press release and perhaps push it out into the Sentinel Town Reminder. We just threw some names down here, but we're open to whatever else you see fit, so don't assume that these are fixed assignments, but Mark, given that you've done this before, we thought you might be the natural person to help publish press releases.
Yep.
The other idea that we talked about is this idea of a talking head, utilizing either Channel 15 or Channel 12 once a month or every 6 weeks for about 5 minutes, just getting in front of a camera and giving an update. Again, same common message, but sort of dripping it on the town because that seems to get a lot of visibility.
They're called PSAs, Public Service Announcements.
Public service announcements.
I'm not sure if monthly is gonna, that might be too much. I don't
Might
know
be
if
too
we're gonna
much,
have
so
enough information.
we threw, September, October, so maybe it's every 2 months, but you're right about that. We can decide how frequently we want to do it, but probably at least 3 or 4 times before the February, March timeframe.
And just change, and the message might be the same, but maybe change the head.
Yeah.
Change the person who's saying it, because you don't want to keep seeing the same person saying the same thing over and over, you know what I mean? So that's what we're saying too.
Right, so Andrea agreed to do the first one, which we're going to try and do in the August timeframe. We did some brainstorming, and Jim Morrison said, oh, I'll do the one in October. Somebody had said, geez, maybe it makes sense for somebody from the Finance Committee. John, that's why your name shows up here. As the end of the year approaches, we may know more information on the finances, and that may be a nice message to share with the town. But again, we're open to all this. We have these other ideas, question marks, because most of us are, I don't want to speak for everybody, most of us are older than 50 and we don't really know what we can do with Twitter and Facebook and that kind of stuff, but we threw it down there as being options. And then if we can create some public interest, we might be able to get Channel 22 or Channel 40 to do a story, and so that remains outstanding. Town events, we are going to do a town leadership meeting on October 21st, and I confirmed that with Chris that seems to be a good day, so that'll be a town leadership meeting and it'll be open to the public. We can push information out there. Lions Club, there may be other town events that some of you can think of that we can add here. Obviously school events, the PTO meeting, I don't think that's the right day.
No, it's not. The first PTO meeting is August 10th.
Okay.
This year.
West Street Parents Night, East Meadow Parents Night, High School Parents Night. We talked about the Granby Music Parents hosting an event that we could attend. We think we can do something at the fall sports banquet for 5 minutes. That may be the only sports banquet that occurs before the town vote. And then we talked about this idea of a direct mail to residents. And Jim, I think you've been talking
Yeah,
to folks at JWA.
I've been talking to Kristen on the telephone, and we've got some things we've been talking about. Some of the issues with the mailing here, we're saying November, but there are actually going to be some events, so there may be a double brochure here or mailing things. We're going to probably do something now which kind of says where we are and shows our site plan and our plans and gets our message here and put it out, and we've been talking about that. But we're not going to get masses or shapes of the building until probably November after we do the schematics, because we're just starting on that. So that would probably be the piece that's mailed, which would have more information, but the piece we do in between would be something that we could use as pass-outs at some of these meetings, so there would be something.
That'd be great, yeah.
The other thing we're talking about is we may not necessarily want to do a mailing in November, but what we want to consider doing a postcard just before the town meeting is in lieu of sending out this brochure. Would it be more beneficial to send out a postcard which has a picture of the school and its town meeting date? Would that be more beneficial than sending out a piece of paper that's got all of its graphics and stuff on it?
I would send the postcard out first and then send out the brochure with the more information.
Which way it should go. One of the things we talked about here is we've got September, October, November, and we've got 2 weeks in December. Nothing's going to happen between December 15th and January 15th, and the town meeting is right after that. So November is probably the most critical month of all.
Right. So I guess it's open to reaction at this point. John, any thoughts? Or
We've been calling these meetings town leadership meetings. Nobody's required to come. Most people don't. I think a different name would be appropriate, because it's not aimed at just the elected officials and committee members. It's really open to the public. It's a way of a public meeting, which you would hope some of the elected officials and committee members would come in semi-official capacities. But if we had another name for it, it would be seemed like it was a little more open.
yeah. Okay. And I think we're we're trying to marry two things. This idea of, can we, on a periodic basis, get together with the town leaders and have a productive, effective interchange of what's going on. That's sort of the original kernel of the idea. In the meantime, we've also been opening it up to the public too. So I think you're right, there's probably a little confusion using that name. Maybe we change the name as...
The town leaders have, as far as this program goes, really have nothing to do with it except as their role as citizens. They don't have any obligations or duties to go out and do anything.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have another informational meeting like we had a month and a half ago.
Yes.
Yes, and we have to
So-
talk about that too. So
Oh, well, because I was,
that could be the meeting on on October 21st. That could be our next...
well, all these things are directed towards parents of students for the most part. Like, I don't think senior citizens are going to go to the school website.
Right.
Yeah.
Possibly the Sentinel for sure, but I really think that brochure is important to get out earlier than later.
Yes. I think having something get out would be great.
So it reaches everybody, because we're really concentrating heavily here on school events.
Right.
Well, if we stay on the schedule we're talking about with this, there certainly could be a mailing of where we are, a status where we are now, probably end of August and first part of September, so when the school goes back. There could be one mailing then, if that's what we want to.
That goes out to the town.
Goes up to everybody.
Yeah. We wouldn't have final designs and drafts.
No, but it's just like where we are now,
Yeah,
like
right.
what our meeting was a month and a half ago to the public.
But we got to also talk about the cost of it.
Mm-hmm.
Talking to Kristen and Margot, that there is a printing allowance within our contract, so some of the printing can be taken care of, but there is no mailing mechanism. Other
Oh, can we
communities-
piggyback?
I don't think we're allowed to use budget for information brochures.
No?
No?
I think you have to have a division, when you're asking for yes votes, when you're
We're not
promoting
asking
the
for that,
project.
though. It's
Well,
just
we were
facts.
just talking about information.
Just the information.
Just an
Per the
Yeah.
information. No, we're not going to ask for both. Per the
Yeah,
information.
all right.
Yeah.
not-
I know there's a fine line there, but
We're happy to supply that graphics
Thank you.
information, for sure.
Is Kathy sending out anything for the town in the near future that we can piggyback?
We'll probably do the census.
When's that go out?
January.
Oh, well, that's kind of late though. Nothing before that?
We're not, like you said, it's a lot of school and parents, and Granby has a huge senior population.
Which
why-
was missing from our,
Missing,
from our
totally
town
missing.
meeting, from our meeting where we,
Yeah.
informational meeting.
Right.
Can we do a presentation here?
Yeah.
Yes,
We do
we're in
want
the
to get
senior
to the-
center, and, I mean, I don't know about the senior community, but do they come here? Is this a popular place? And perhaps they come here during the day. Perhaps the meeting, informational meeting needs to be lunchtime. Isn't that when this place
I'm not-
is busy?
Yeah, I'm not convinced they're Granby residents, to be honest with you.
Really? I don't know. I don't know.
Chris, you-
But that come here?
Yeah,
They are.
John, do you know?
Yeah, I will.
but there's not a lot of them.
No, there's, when I looked,
Yeah,
there's
big night would be like 40.
Yeah, I
actually like 20 people,
There's a
maybe.
group of
There
people
they
that
are.
are taxpayers that no longer have students that you have to get.
Right, which was missing from our meeting. I don't know if it's going to be an outreach.
At least you're on it, lady.
I'm not sure.
don't know how you get
Well, yeah, I do. So media, mailing, so TV, media, right? TV. Think they watch that. We've got a line.
Windows 10.
So, what do we, any other ideas? There's a concern expressed around how do we get to non-school
Like seniors, the senior community, we're talking
Well,
about
just
how this is.
anybody over the
very-
age of, doesn't have kids in the school
Right.
system.
Right. We're heavily focusing on families, parents, but we're wondering how to get our message out.
And frankly, only because there's venues that exist. It wasn't by design, it's just that, oh, these venues, if there were venues that were children, we would go to those too.
Well, other than putting up signs in stores,
Well, the snail mail is very effective for seniors.
we have to find the money.
Right.
Well,
That's what we need to do.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's
This
talk
meeting
about
without
that.
knowing where we're gonna get money. You guys are gonna be able to help with the graphics and the printing.
Nothing.
Alan, do you want to weigh in on that?
I was gonna say, we have money in the budget right now for that kind of thing,
And
yeah.
stamps. So we need maybe $2,000 or $3,000 to do at least one mailing.
How many residents were we, or households, how many did we say? We mentioned that the last
I thought it
committee.
was maybe 2,200 or so.
What was it, Mark?
Yeah,
2200?
22 to 25, something like that.
Yeah, so it's not much.
That's $1,200 for our
And the cost of,
Right.
it's less than $2,000 for one mailing.
Yeah, it's bulk mail, so it's cheaper.
Right.
So how do we tap into that? Should we decide that we want to?
Whatever the cost is, we just take it from the budget. And
Okay.
Should be approved by the fall.
Right, it has to be approved for an expenditure, so.
But we're okay.
Okay, so that's good. So,
Yeah, that's good.
And we'll get this together and so it can be reviewed. Okay.
Yeah.
so we'll do, it sounds like we're gonna do one mailing in the next 6 weeks or thereabouts.
By the time school starts.
Okay. And we may also want to do another mailing later in the year.
So we'll have much more information.
That sound agreeable? We'll
We
do
can
a
send out a
mailing-
Christmas card.
Yeah, we'll do a mailing in the next probably 4 weeks or so with whatever information we have. Jim is gonna work with JWA, he's gonna share with everybody what the flyer looks like. With approval, we'll tap into the budget, and then the plan would be to do another bulk mailing in the November timeframe. Again, before Christmas, but at least get something out based on whatever information we have, and then maybe a postcard as a reminder in the January, February timeframe.
So you're talking about 3 mailings?
Or else we do one in late October to everybody, and then in January.
Alan, when do you think we'll feel
We can do
comfortable
calls, too.
giving a number?
Well,
We do.
if you look at our schedule, it's going out to our estimators in mid-November, mid-October, and due at the beginning of November to be reconciled. So we have a reconciled estimate on our schematic design.
So it wouldn't have gone to MSBA yet, but it would at least be a
We're not at MSBA, but when it goes to MSBA, it's going to be a cascade effect very quickly through the end of November, beginning of December, and then end of January board meeting for the project funding agreement. But we will have all the information we're sending to MSBA except their approval, which
But will we have tax impact?
Well, we can know the range. Yeah, we know the range, I mean, we know the kind of a range right now, as long as we don't go, you know, if it gets way above our affordability anyway, you know, something happens.
Right.
And something shouldn't happen. It should stay on course till we get to that point in time. Typically, what you have is enough money in there that as more information is developed in schematic design, and more the estimators can take off, the number tends to squeeze down because they have more information to digest and to put out as an estimate.
I just wondered if there was a municipal bond person that's advising the town in terms of, you know,
I work with
bond rates, yeah.
We have a-
Eastern Bank.
So they'll be able to generate, if we tell them how much it costs, they'll be able to say,
We already did an initial one, yes.
Yeah.
great. Because yeah, we have a budget now.
Yeah, we just have to stay on it. The key is to stay on budget.
So I guess there are some activities that are going to take place. One of the ideas that we talked about, Andrea was going to do the first infomercial, and she was going to use the script that we had created that everyone sort of approved already. That way it's going to be our first pass. So is everybody comfortable with that? If she begins to line up the first 3 to 5 minute, you know, talking head kind of thing?
PSA.
PSA, I'm sorry. Talking head doesn't sound right. PSA. Given that it was a script that was already created, we just assumed that we could at least begin to set that in motion. So I don't know if we need to vote for that, or, I don't know.
I think we have a consensus.
Okay.
Was it discussed earlier before we came in?
Yeah, we reviewed the plan, we can bring it to you later.
No, that's good, don't repeat anything for us.
Well, so basically what Andrew's gonna say is what Mark's already put in the paper.
Pretty much, right.
Everything's already been out there, so it's
Right.
just a reiteration of.
I'm literally gonna read a script.
And smile a lot.
Try. That's why I'm not doing it tonight. It's not.
Now, the brochure that we're going to put together that Jim's working on, how do we get that reviewed by everybody? If we're planning to put something out in the next month, then...
We'll just pass it, we'll do it by email.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
Can we?
Our subcommittee can, our whole committee can.
Whole committee.
Yeah, why don't we, let the communication committee just have the privilege of approving it?
Right, so then the outreach committee will work on that?
Yeah,
And just, I'm not really part of the outreach committee, but just send it to me and I'll look at it.
If the, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but if the outreach committee is coined as a subcommittee, subcommittees are supposed to have public meetings as well by our open meeting law. So we may want to be careful about that as well.
Everything.
Yeah, well,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
this is
okay.
just creating a brochure and sending it out through email to each other to make sure the
It's
lingo.
deliberation online.
Yeah.
Deliberation online.
The subcommittees
So
are
you-
subject to the same open meeting laws.
Right.
So what's the subcommittee? Who's on the subcommittee? Jim Petras, Jim,
Yeah,
Marcy, myself, Lynn,
that's it.
you.
somebody of that?
Yeah, me,
Five.
yeah.
All right, so let's say that 2 people work on it. And then, are we meeting next month?
The 20th.
Yes.
Okay, well, that would be okay if we can come back and give everyone an opportunity to review it.
Yeah, at the next meeting. And we just, right?
It's a month away, I think we could probably pull that off.
Are we allowed to send out emails ahead of time?
You can send out information, you can't.
Oh, you can send the brochure and I can just include it in the meeting notes.
Yeah, I mean, it could be sent out ahead of time so people can review it and
Okay.
offer changes and stuff.
You just can't deliberate back and forth via email.
All material
Okay.
is sent out.
So we'll make it a point to get it out in advance for everybody to review, come with your comments. That'll be one of the first topics that we get to, and
You're lucky
hopefully
it's
try to
in
get-
general, knock it on your door.
Okay, good. So Jim, you take the lead and just decide who you want to engage. And then, I'm not losing my thought, but, okay, so that'll be that. I guess we'll gear up for are we going to do an info meeting on the 21st of October? Should we have that be another info night?
My only concern on that was that we will just the week after that, we'll have all the budget information back from the schematic design. So if we can push that just a week or two,
All right.
we'll have a lot more
That's fine.
information to present,
So do we
financial
wanna-
information to present.
Is there a date that we think might work for everybody, even if a couple weeks out, if it's October or November?
First week of November, we should have everything in place that we're looking for. I mean, it just seems a little bit, why go out 2 weeks before we have the
Yeah, that's
actual
fine.
reconciled estimate schematic design?
What about the 4th? Is that a night that would work for, first of all, do we think we should do a public outreach? Should we organize an event in that timeframe?
Absolutely. I think the more we get out to the public and we say, okay, here's where we are, here's what the costs are looking like, here's what the design's looking like, and everybody's liking it, and there's good buzz going around town, the better it is for the project. I mean, the more transparent we can be, the better off the results will be.
Well, and along those lines too, the more we, sometimes everything we plan doesn't actually happen. So if we over-plan a little bit, like we were just saying, whether it's 2 mailings or 3 mailings, well, you can plan for 3, we might only actually do 2.
Right.
Right.
So do we have agreement that, is that a date that works for everybody?
Well, why don't we hold to the 5th and then still Thursday night for, it seems like we meet Thursday night, so.
Yeah, yeah.
So the 5th.
So,
Okay.
the date again, I'm sorry.
November 5th
November.
would be a public outreach event. We just have to determine where, and we'll have to figure out our message. We have time for
I
that.
have the school calendar in my calendar yet, so I have no idea what's going on. I won't be here that day.
Okay.
It's going to be leaves with people.
November 5th work for majority of us?
So something
What time
similar to what
do
we
you
did
do, 7
last time.
o'clock for, 7 o'clock for the session?
That's all right, we'll just figure out, where did we do it last time? I forgot.
East Bath School,
That's fine.
yeah.
Is that okay?
And do we want to meet at 6 beforehand to discuss the
No,
cost?
I don't think we should do it at the school yet. I think we should do it at the library or the senior center or something else. Because we have, like we were saying, all these school things we're doing. We're going to open houses, PTO meetings. So it's just my suggestion, you pick a different venue.
There's 3 different people. We're hoping to bring in
Right.
people who don't have students, so they will.
So have it at the senior center or have it at the public library. Everybody likes to go there. I know on Thursday nights, they stay open late. We could reserve the community room.
That's a great idea.
They love that. Want me to look into that?
I'd be okay with the library, I'm just thinking if if 50 people are there, or 60 people, is that?
I think it's big enough. Could you imagine if we had enough people who standing room? I mean, wishful thinking, Joe, that we have not enough.
50 people would be standing room, probably.
That would be great. I mean, I don't really see that happening.
But if we have it at the school, people ask questions about the school, we're able to take them to that spot and show it to them, or we're able to say, this is what the school problems are. You can't do that at Gusing if you're doing it somewhere else.
That's true.
I mean, we're trying to renovate the school and build on the school.
That's
So
true.
we're talking about it at the library, would be better talking about it at the school.
Yeah, but I just meant because we're trying to reach other people besides school, families,
I suppose
you
we could
know?
do it here too, that would be an option.
Well, this is the biggest.
This is the biggest room.
This is bigger than the library community room, that's for sure, this whole room.
Yeah, I mean, I could argue that we already did one at the school, and plus we're gonna do a bunch of school events, so, you know, this.
Yeah, we've done it
Bad idea.
every each of the schools already, so they're doing it at the high school, it's relevant.
Do it here?
I think, I think here's a great idea, if we can get this place
And this is for November?
November
for
5th.
the November 5th outreach.
Try and keep it
public
to an hour,
outreach.
we'll get it filmed by, have our friends film it.
Yeah,
So, we
So
have
senior
infomercials
center.
going, we have a brochure going out, we have another infomercial, which we'll have to talk about, we're gonna need to do that now, but in the late September, early October, we'll do another one. Jim Morris is gonna do it, we'll have to figure out what the message is gonna be. And then on the 5th, we'll do a public outreach event. And, around about that time, probably have another brochure or mailing that goes out in late November, early December, that time, right? Doesn't feel too terrible, right?
How do we book this place? Who do you see to do this?
Our office.
Oh, okay.
So your mailings are in November and then a postcard in December, January? Or
We're going to do a mailing in late August. Our first mailing will be late August, does that sound right, Jim? To the full community.
okay.
Andrea is going to do a public service announcement sometime in the next couple of weeks, to be determined. Jim is going to do another public service announcement, to be determined, but probably late September, early October. And then we're going to do on November 5th, we're going to do a, what do we call this? Public outreach. Here at the Senior Center. And then in late November, our plan is to send another brochure out, which may have cost and it may have a design.
That's the time to present the cost to everybody.
Right.
Since you're going to send out a brochure in late November.
Another second brochure. And that may be the time where we ask John to maybe do a 3 to 5 minute public service announcement on the cost, because we will have them and they'll be in a brochure and, so John, if you're agreeable, that might be a good time to do that. And then in the meantime, we'll be pushing public releases out, press releases out to the Sentinel and so forth. So. Does that sound good?
Okay, good. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Sorry, I have to run.
Thanks, Joe. Bye, Joe.
If you need anything on the MSBA process for your public service, let me know. And, or if you want me to review it, if there's anything in there to talk about their process and how it dovetails in.
Yeah, well, actually, Joe wrote it up already, and the script, and I have it to
Okay, well, once you read it, if there's anything in there that is MSBA related,
Right.
Send me a copy and I'll walk you through
But do I have the?
the steps that
I
typically they steer clear of the MSBA
Oh, these are
process
Chris's.
when we're trying to
think those are
get out to the public with,
Yeah, I think
with the
it's-
design itself.
Right, I think it's gonna be pretty simple
Okay.
language.
Yeah, I mean, just that we talk about that the MSBA is a grant and it's not an entitlement and things like that. But you know, be careful with those types of words. Okay.
Okay, yep.
If we could just quickly go to the minutes. We don't have May 21st yet, do we? All right, so motion to approve June 3rd minutes.
we have edits.
All right. Anybody want to make that motion? Mr. Emery, second.
I second it.
Andrew Kennedy. All right, discussion, edits are all underlined. Is that right?
Well, there's some additions.
All right, we have some other ones.
Yeah, the meeting wasn't in the cafeteria, it was in the library.
In the library,
Same line.
says in top.
Okay.
And,
And the 3 people that were marked as absent were really there.
absent were there.
Yeah, I thought so. I missed that meeting.
Must have not left much of an impact on it.
I know I missed a meeting, yes.
So minutes of May 21st are postponed. Approval.
Minutes from May 21st postponed. Okay, any more discussion on June 3rd? All right, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Good. All right, now we'll hear from Alan.
I handed out a schedule. See the one we have with the colors on it, and it's kind of a momentous night tonight because I think I first met with the committee a year ago tomorrow night. So we've been at this, and I think we've accomplished a lot in a year. There's been the hiring of Jones Winsett, and the formulation of the feasibility study, and some of the submissions to the MSBA and getting some feedback. We've gotten this on budget, and everybody knows what the budget is. We've determined that West Street is not the solution, that it's East Meadow. So we've made a lot of progress in a year, and it's a very protracted schedule with MSBA projects, so I think we've done very well. But you can see we had a submission that went on June 11th for the preferred schematic report, and then we had an FAS meeting, which is the Feasibility Assessment Subcommittee. That was a week ago, yesterday, at the MSBA. It was a fairly benign meeting that Jones Winsett did a nice presentation of the design and the solutions of where we are. We had, they give us 20 minutes to speak, and we had a rush to get through those 20 minutes. We were timed.
With an iPhone.
And then they followed up with some questions that were the questions you expect from the Facilities Assessment Subcommittee. And everybody seemed in a concurrence that what they saw in the preferred schematic report was viable. We have not heard officially back from them yet. We have not seen their comments back from the submission yet, but we do have a conference call with them at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning to go over what they said are next steps in schematic design, which is a booklet that's called Module 4, and what they'll do is they'll go through all of the steps in Module 4 and say, make sure you adhere to them, and we'll say, yes, we will. And at that point in time, we know that they're on board, that they're going to accept our preferred schematic report. So all good things. Everything seems to be going, staying on schedule and tracking. So you can see that the next steps are to finish up the schematic design, get it to our estimators toward the end of October, and get those two estimates back and reconcile both of them, so that two people looking at it from two different vantage points, and then coming back to you with where we see the costs of this falling out.
Item number the Master Star project notification form, August 5th, right? Do any of us have to sign it, or is that just something you guys send in?
We just send it in. I can
Okay.
sign it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's one pager.
That's fine, I just want to make sure that my signature isn't required on it, that's all.
I'll sign on your behalf.
Okay.
I do like my wife.
Good thing this is in front of the camera. Huh?
I need direct deposits.
But while these meetings are going on, Jones Winsett Architects were working on more on the design, coming up with some massing solutions and some elevation studies, and they have something to present tonight to the committee, so we can turn it over to them, if I might, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please.
Great. Well, we were just going to go through what Alan just talked about. So, a summary of the Facilities Assessment Subcommittee meeting and some of the questions they had or comments they had. And it has to do with the educational plan, and strategic plan, and they were really pushing for community outreach. So, you're way ahead of the game. They did have a couple quibbles about the floor plan and the PSR, and they were easily addressed. You'll see them tonight. And they basically were focusing on educational issues more, which Judy addressed, and
Yeah, at the speed of light.
yeah.
How fast can you talk?
Yeah, but the good news was they didn't ask us any questions about which option we chose or how much it was going to cost or the schedule. So by assumption, that means they've accepted that.
And we're wondering where the idea came from to do the whole crux and grades at the same time. Now, there were questions,
Yeah,
why are you looking at PK through 6?
Right.
Because you told us to.
Right. And yeah, we went through how we narrowed down the selections, and anyway, they had no question at all. Made sense to them. But we won't officially get that for another little bit. But we have this phone call tomorrow, which tells us what to do going forward. So that means we're going forward. That's really good. Then we do have a slight update, but Christian and I are both confused. It looks like DEP came out, re-inspected, and saw that the repairs they had required were done. And it looks like they signed it, approved. Did you get anything, Chris?
Well, that's the letter from the inspector that will go to DEP for their review.
Okay, yeah.
So the inspector was requiring the school district to do a little extra work after they inspected it the first time. a vent had to be cleared out, some part had to be repumped, and so that just happened. So we are
That
now
seems to be
finally
good.
rolling on that.
So now we have lots to go through, and Christian's gonna.
Right. Well, we've
Here's our, here's our plan.
So
Started.
here's where we were and what we submitted, and when we were doing design at this stage, we were really looking at all those 7 different options, and this was just one possible ad reno scheme. So we've spent some more time on this. We've looked at other options that we're not even going to present tonight. We looked at turning the new addition this way. We looked at a new entrance here instead of here. We've met with our landscape architect and kind of batted around some ideas. So tonight we have 4 plan options. We have 4 massing options, and we have 6 site plans. The 6 site plans are very minor adjustments, so I'll say that for last, and don't worry, that won't take very much time. I'm not going to keep you here till 9 o'clock.
Would it help to turn the lights off so you can see this better? Just looking at
For me to get my head out of the way.
No, that's good. You were good.
So basically, our hope is not that we have one, maybe we have one perfect option up here tonight, but really what we want to try and get is feedback on the different design ideas that are going into them. So some of the ideas that we were trying to address are, we had a few. So first of all, we showed shipping and receiving right here in this front corner. And we're now thinking that we will move shipping and receiving to the existing boiler room, which is next to the kitchen and closer to where they could do deliveries for both custodial and the kitchen at the same spot. That allows us to put the mechanical room in the new portion where all the new mechanicals are going to go anyway, and works a little bit better on a site layout perspective. Another goal of ours was to have the music room / stage be on the side of the gym. We've done that in schools before, and it's a much better line of sight. It just works better with the gymnasium not to have it at the very end. It's very unlikely that you'd have someone sitting way back here looking at a performance. Much more likely that you could have better seating arrangement if that stage was on the long side of the gym. We looked at expanding this courtyard to get it closer to the size that's at West Street. That was a concern from the MSBA, was the how to maintain the courtyards and how to program the courtyards. This one's a little bit trickier because it is in the center of the existing building. We're working with our landscape architects on that, but we were thinking that if this one is more of the size that the school district is used to from the West Street, which they're very fond of, that might be a significant benefit. We were also looking at trying to open up these hallways a little bit more so that you could see through them, so that the courtyard would be open to the outdoor play on each side, and it would just kind of open up those hallways in general. I'd say those were the main things we were focusing on. Oh, and then the third is that we were trying to maintain daylight into that cafeteria space. And we were doing that both by being very conscientious of our massing here, and then in some of our options, we actually rotated this portion so it opens a little bit more, so it's a little bit more generous to that courtyard environment in there.
A couple of questions.
Yep.
So I think earlier what we said is that when the buses come in, they would go to the front of the building, and for drop-off, we were going to use a side, right?
Yes, we're questioning that a little bit, so we have some site options that show that in different ways, but in general, right, that was that bus drop-off would happen here, and parent drop-off would happen here.
So that means on the side there is another egress somewhere, or will they have to go all the way to the front of the building if they are dropped off somewhere on the side and get it?
Our hope is that everyone comes in the front door.
So that
For a most
what I
secure
said
entry.
is if I'm being dropped off on the side of the building, it's a rainy day, I have to walk all the way to the front and get in that way?
Right. Not that far, but yes, you have to walk towards the front entry. We're just trying to have one central secure entry. And an egress could happen, as school lets out. We could have doors out here and doors out the existing, of course. But The hope is that for entry, it's all in through the front door.
The other question that I had, there is this opening next to the cafeteria that exists right now, between the two buildings.
Yes.
And we had some conversations around that. Is it possible to have an exit from the cafeteria, so warm days they may be able to eat out
Yes.
there? Or,
Yep, there's doors there now, and we're maintaining that,
Okay.
that open space. So let's fast forward to the very end of the presentation.
There's one other comment that we heard on the existing PSR plan was the reading room was next to the music. That would be acoustically challenging, so we've moved them away.
So for revised plan options, basically there's version 1, which keeps kind of the rectilinear form that we had in the PSR, and then version 2, where we put the gym and the administration at an angle to kind of open up that space by the cafeteria. So that's one thing to get your input on. And another is the orientation of the gym. And we'll see about a little bit later how this can affect massing. But basically, you know, if we have the long end of the gym against the street, that's a pretty large facade that's tall and flat. And so if we can turn that 90 degrees, that helps break up the view from the street. In this case, you know, there's also the view from the high school, which is to the west, so I don't think it's as clear of there's one perfect way of doing it, which is why we're showing both options.
Well, there aren't any windows on that side of the high school.
That's true.
Oh, really?
That's true. So for one, we cleaned up the existing floor plan a little bit, you know, trying to make these spaces a little bit simpler and more, you know, just a little bit more open and cleaner compared to what we had at the PSR when we were just trying to make sure that everything fit. So in this option, we've turned the gym 90 degrees. To get to the music, you would either go from the gym or there's a small hallway to the side. The mechanical room has moved to the back there. That's relatively centrally located, so we can get our mechanical equipment throughout the building. What we've done is we had 3 classrooms here that were facing the courtyard. And we've taken those out and put some of our special education and teacher planning rooms there instead, which allows us to open that courtyard a little bit more and put all of the classrooms on the outside of the building. We're still trying to maintain some open common areas, breaking up that hallway a little bit. Anything else that I'm missing, Michael?
Christian, I can't read from here, but
Yeah.
early on, I think some of the bathrooms were right at the entry point. Are they still there?
The bathrooms were right here as you come in. Now they're back up in here. So again, we wanted to have 2 group toilet rooms so that in the evening hours, and I could go over this plan, we could close this off and close this off, and this could be open for community use with bathroom access. And then other group bathrooms for the 1st and 2nd graders to use there. The
And the
kindergartens
bathroom will
and the
not be right
pre-K.
next to the door.
No.
Okay, cool.
We do have
Thank you.
one scheme where
We still have that in some schemes. But
And one thing that is a positive about this scheme is this sort of entrance to the gym is generous and there's a lobby there. You know, you could even have double doors or something.
Right.
Some of the others, it's trade-offs. You know, some have certain features that are better than others.
Is there much difference in the sizes between?
all of these are about 72,400, which is the exact same size as what we submitted for PSR. So we've massaged it so that we're pretty close. They're all that square footage is a given.
So with the size of the courtyard that is in the middle changing,
Yep.
does it change the footprint a lot? Does it push the buildings apart from each other? Does it move them in any way?
Very slightly, this one is a little bit further from the existing building, but mostly it changes because we had thicker spaces in here, right? So our classrooms took up this much space, and now we put in these smaller rooms and rotated that OTPT room so that our courtyard could grow to the south.
It moved it a little to the south.
Yeah, yeah, and also moved it further. Basically we've taken our addition, it was a little bit further this way, we've moved it this way and extended it a little bit further east. So in terms of the playground area, it's likely that you would exit here and the playground area would be up in that area to the north of it. I'll keep going, we can always jump back and forth, hopefully I know they're a little bit small on paper, but that might help. So this is very similar to 1A. You can flip between the two just to see, the pre-K and kindergarten and first grade and second grade are largely the same down that hallway. What's mostly changed is that we've rotated the gym 90 degrees. Again, we've kept the stage on the long side of the gym for better sight lines. Administration's still right in front. Like Margot said, it's a generous lobby here, but it is a little bit of a, down the hallway to get to the gym, which is something that we, struggled with. And I think this is better than we've had, but still a little bit of a hallway down there.
I have a question on that.
Yeah.
At least the way I'm seeing it right now, there's one entrance and exit from the gym. Is that?
There will be other egress doors straight
Okay.
out. Yeah, for code, yeah, certainly.
What's across from the nurse?
So, that's a good point.
So you move
and
the
let me go
nurse.
back to this one too. Nurse is separate from admin in this scheme, and also in this scheme, just across the hall. So the main entry to admin, as you enter the school would be here, and then a principal, another office, conference room, storage and toilets, but then nurse here and then teacher planning up there.
And one feature of this scheme is you actually see into the courtyard
Right.
from this lobby part. And we might end up making this pushing it in a little bit.
I think the closer you can have the nurse to administration, the better,
Yeah.
because sometimes there is coverage across the hall because nurses do need to eat and things like that. So, which means somebody from the office is probably in there, particularly if there are kids in there.
Is it better to have?
Have it all
In
together.
both cases, they were across the hall, just
They
different
were
halls.
close, but we also
Yeah, but the nurse is further away in the first.
right here. The
Yeah.
nurse is part of that suite. Is that
That's even better, to be honest.
So we can.
Yeah.
But I have walked across the hall on my principal days to
Cover for the.
cover.
How do the number of interior exits and entrances to the gym compare in the different?
For the interior entrances, they're pretty much always the same. We just kind of have one major entrance into the gym. This could be more doors than are shown there. I mean, this hallway could be widened a little bit, and double doors could be shown there. I think in all cases we would have one primary interior entrance, and then we'd have the emergency egress doors directly outside from there.
And in all cases, we can put doors to the wings, the classroom wings, so that the gym can be used at night.
Right.
Without opening the whole school.
Now, in this building, there would be both instrumental and general music. So, what's your thought around instrumental music does not happen during the full day, but there certainly would be with everybody on one campus some overlap of time with the two people.
I don't think our space center had two music.
Right.
Yeah, they don't
Just
give
hit-
us two
that just
music,
hit
but
me.
you could use the platform maybe. Maybe we could,
In
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just, because Jen's not here putting on a principal hat.
yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions on this one? Comments? 2A, so here's one, again with the gym going east-west. All of administration's to the south of the gym. We've rotated that wing about 20 degrees to open up that space to the cafeteria, to the existing cafeteria.
Does rotating it cost money? More money?
I don't think so. Not at this scale, and it's still pretty simple. It's all, straight walls.
It was really to make the cafeteria lighter and better and sort of a gesture to the other side of the campus.
When you're doing anything with the administration, you have got to go well into that suite to get to it.
Yep.
Is that?
Well, don't worry about the layout of it yet. We didn't take a lot of time laying that out. But it is just one long block, so.
Because I would be assuming that there would probably be a principal and an assistant principal versus, so obviously both of those people need office space.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we've got 2 offices, one principal, one office, there's a conference room, mail room, and then kind of a general open area for the secretary and visitors.
Is there any entrance on the corridor to the east?
Yeah, I think we would put doors here and here as well. Again, not as a main entrance, but as an egress point for sure. Yeah, something that the students or teachers could use.
This scheme, you could put 2 sets of doors into the gym.
Okay.
Oh, right. For
Which
sure.
came in your comment that this may be more welcoming to the, you said if there were doors over there, it's not very good welcome.
Yeah, no, we would have doors and.
Yeah. I mean, I think part of the idea is that we could have doors on both sides.
Yeah.
And that's part of the idea was for maintenance too, if you feel that they get, whatever you needed into that courtyard fairly easily.
And the grays, the bathrooms?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So there they are, right, but if that's a real downer, we can play around with some other pieces, move them around.
Like you just pointed out that on this 2A plan, the end of the gym is wide open, double access, and that looks like that's the only plan that has that ability, huh? Because that sounds
Yes.
important if we're gonna use it for, like we do for town meetings and stuff like that. It's important for that to be a wide open like that, and now that lobby, like the high school does, that's how we use the high school gym when we have meetings and stuff.
Lobby serves as a spill out.
As a
space.
spill out
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
Good point.
And
I love that.
we can move this block to the other end and
Open that up some
open
more.
that out. Sort of depends on which priorities you have.
what are the negatives to that 2A? What's not good about 2A? The nurse is in with the administrative.
Yeah.
She's in that suite.
If you were going to have drop-off in the side of the building and you were to put a door in that connecting corridor, you could essentially also let the kids enter the building who are being dropped off. I'm just a little concerned with buses trying to drop off kids and kids trying to walk around in the traffic flow. If everybody's trying to come in the front door. I mean, that would just be sort of administration assigning people to supervise kids as they come in the building.
Isn't the front entrance going to be electronic entrance?
Not when everybody's coming through the door.
Yeah.
So we're going
None of
to
that
wide open in the
would be
morning,
cool.
anybody could come in?
Yeah.
Well, when you're
That's how we
offloading
do it.
buses of kids, yes.
Yeah.
So that they can come in more than one entrance, people?
They do that now.
Wow.
Kids
Yeah,
are,
no,
but
it's
there are
not-
adults at both places,
Right.
so there's supervision.
With radio, with 2A radio.
Yes.
That PTO.
Yeah.
And maybe you have a teacher and a cat or something who, well, you have visual supervision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's how they do it now. There's adult supervision at the main entrance, but there's also adult supervision on the side where kids get dropped off.
Great.
So the other thing that I'm thinking, maybe this is too far out, but that space between the existing building and the new building where the current cafeteria is,
Mm-hmm.
if the kids go out or if we decide to do something in that space, when it is angled that way, it's difficult to put anything over it, whether it's a canvas thing or some hardtop thing. When it is angled this way, seems like it would have been a possibility for the future if they were closer and not angled that way.
I'm going to be honest with you in terms of having kids eat outside at this age level. That's not going to happen.
No?
They will be contained in the cafeteria under adult supervision. We're talking about little people.
Yeah.
It's a different thing than the secondary group.
Or they could go into the courtyard. We were thinking of making picnic tables and stuff there.
But
Yeah, that
again,
would be
just knowing,
contained.
yeah, but again, you gotta have adult supervision, so they have like lunch monitors, and so limited numbers of those, just from a logistics standpoint.
Yeah.
They're probably gonna wind up in 3 waves in the cafeteria,
Yeah.
adult supervision.
With the courtyard at West Street now, they have a principal's lunch in the courtyard, like
Yep.
once a year, and it's a special invitation, and
Right.
it's a big deal and everything. So that idea, they do use it, but it entails a lot of work, so it only
Logistical, yeah.
happens once a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would see the value of the courtyard probably just being more of a educational outdoor space, some gardening, some,
That's
those
good
kinds of
classroom
things.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Great. Great. 2B, similar to a gym, rotated 90 degrees. Music still on the long side of it. A little bit of a lobby space in front, but not nearly as generous as 2A, that's for sure. I don't think there's any other comments.
Yeah.
on this one.
Gym having windows in it,
Yes.
facing out to the west.
Sure.
The reason I was asking is that if it doesn't, then you've got this big wind block
Yeah.
from the north and the west, which is where the wind comes from. It seems to be an advantage, but
Yeah.
Oh, for the building.
Yeah.
Well, usually we have up high built windows to daylight
Yeah.
and balls are flying around, so you don't have that many at lower level, so.
yeah, I was thinking of the effect of blocking out the northwest.
Break it a little bit.
I know you guys said don't worry about the layout, but as I'm looking at the administrative space,
Yeah.
they're all together and I can't see very clearly in the small print. Do they have to go through each other's office to get to the last one for me?
No, in all of them we have, the MSBA doesn't give you a lot of room for administration, so you are a little bit constricted on what you do. But on all of them, we pretty much have a double loaded corridor where you come into a large open waiting area with a built-in front desk.
Okay.
And then behind that is a corridor with
Oh, that's-
conference, office, principal, mail/storage for the teachers, and then some bathrooms.
Okay.
So that's pretty consistent in all of the options.
And sometimes you have to go through, when the building's locked, there's a door in to here. There's a vestibule, a door in here, you sign in and then you get okay to go indoors. So it's a filter.
Christian, you articulated the east side wall there on the new addition. Could you go over what the benefit was there?
Out here,
Yeah.
in general, we're doing that to keep our square footage similar and to get some open space inside. That does allow this classroom to get some southern light and some corner windows. But, you know, that's something that,
The breakout spaces.
Yeah, it
there
also-
is, I think, is a benefit there that you're trying
Right.
to achieve.
yeah.
It gets more collective space, common space here, and an assortment of room sizes there, clustered together.
Yeah.
But we could do, you know, as we said, we can take bits of each
Right.
one and put
If you like
Yeah.
this part of 2B,
Right. Right.
you know, this part of 2A, we can try and put those together.
It looks like on both the plans for 2, so the courtyard, you tried to make bigger in option 1, and it shrunk back down in option 2.
A little bit. It's a little bit smaller. It's still bigger than what we were showing in the PSR. But yes, it has gotten a little bit smaller, in part because, you know, we were able to keep this mass away from the cafeteria so that, you know, we prefer for this hallway not to get too long. So we're kind of weighing the pros and cons of that in general. Yeah? Any questions on the plan? So we're going to keep going into the massing. So the massing, these are built off of the floor plans, but aren't necessarily tied to them. So again, if you like a certain massing element on 1, but you like the floor plans from option 2, we can certainly look at trying to combine those. But in general, we came up with 4 massing options. With some general ideas, a mixture of some shed roofs, some gable roofs, some flat roofs. Everything at East Meadow right now is a flat roof. It's on 3 different levels, right? There's the main level, then there's the library, then there's the cafeteria and gym, which is a little bit higher. And thinking about the high school too, which is flat roofs across the way. So kind of responding to that, to those masses, and coming up with some different options. So option 1A, we're showing a flat roof for the gym and the stage. One of our thoughts was that we could get some windows, like Margaret was saying, nice and high, and maybe you know, kind of celebrate and expose some of the structure that's going on in the gym and really get a lot of daylight coming into the top of it. It would kind of serve as this nice beacon from the road that you could see from there. The administration wraps around in front and breaks up some of that mass a little bit. The entrance comes out by the administration with a covered overhang out front. In the classroom wing, we have 2 sloped roofs, but they're slightly offset. And the idea there is that we could use that nice southern facade to put some high windows, clear story windows up high, that would allow some daylight into that hallway. And then we could have what's called borrowed lights from the hallway into the classrooms, again, high up, so it's not distracting to students, but it would allow for some daylight to come into the classrooms on each side of the classroom, which is a really nice feature, and also nice to get some daylight into the hallway. By having that tall roof, you know, you can alternate between where you have clear stories and then you can drop a ceiling and have some of your mechanical units running through there too, so it gives us some flexibility that way.
Real quick question. Chris.
Yeah.
Parent drop-off versus bus drop-off.
Yep.
You said you're gonna have the parent drop-off kids walk around to the front of the building. That seems like sort of a long walk on a wintry day or on a rainy day, based upon the way I see that coming in.
Yeah.
I'm just asking that question, that's all.
Yeah, no, I think it's a concern. You're basically walking the length of the gym to get.
Right. And the other concern I have is for traffic flow in terms of buses trying to get out while cars may be backed up because they're not going to pull all the way down if the kid has to walk.
Maybe we should go through site.
Should we go site first and then come back to these missing? It sounds like.
No, I'm just looking at that, I'm having a little problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have 2 different ways
Okay.
of doing it, maybe.
Is the busing drop-off under a covered area, or is the busing drop-off in the open?
There's only one that isn't totally covered.
Right. So right now, buses are coming in, they have their own entrance and exit. So buses won't be interacting with parent cars at all. They're in separate loops, you can't get from here to there. So the buses drop off here, this is teacher parking, only reserved for teachers and visitors so that they're not conflicting with the buses. the buses drop off here, and then from the bus, right, we always have a covered overhang over the door. In some of our massing options, you'll see that covered overhang kind of wrapping around the building that way. So that's something to evaluate. But the parent drop-off is here for drop-off, and then parent parking and more parking is back here. So, right, the idea is that the parent parking happens here, parent drop-off happens here, the kids get out of the car and they're coming down the sidewalk and in the front door. So there's no conflict between cars and buses. There is, some different pedestrian routes.
Before, when you talked about in the little open space there, having a set of doors which maybe could be used as entrance.
Right here.
There, yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any chance that that could be the entrance for kids coming in their parents' cars? So the drop off for them is up earlier, so they just go into the school that way?
Yeah, I think it's kind of an issue of how the school is run. The distance from there to there is going to be the same. That's the same hallway that's running the length of the building. So I think it would really come down to a staffing question of whether they want to
And the older kids
have
might
two
want to
doors or not.
go in that door, 3 through 6. The kids going to East Meadow, it's quicker for them to do that.
Right.
But then if they get it, where's the bus going to let them off?
In the front.
So then they're going to have to walk all the way around. So-
No, they walk through. The buses, they would walk through.
Yeah,
They'd walk through the building.
but everybody else can come in the other way.
Who's being driven?
It's being driven. That would stop some of the jam from happening closer to the street. You have
Yeah.
buses stop there, or cars stopping here to reduce the walk. I don't think
But
we
the
wanna-
walk's the same, you just said.
They are.
Not if you stop closer.
Yeah, I think
Right.
if you could have as an option for parent drop-off to be in that other corridor, it would probably help with overall traffic flow.
Right.
You will wind up with
Extend
some, right,
so that they can go in here.
yeah. You will wind up with some parents who are back in the line, who are going to just say to the kids, I need to get to work, get out. And they'll wind up in the front door anyway, but it might ease some congestion because there are a lot of cars that drop kids off. So I even watched that at the high school. They'll pull out and around, but then they'll, some of them will drop off in other places. It's like, I gotta go.
Right, even though you want one secure entrance to the school, the way the schools function, they all have 2 entrances. One is for buses, one is for parents. Yeah, there really has to be, for security reasons, one is better, but that doesn't function well for the community and the people going to school.
But with the age group,
And the
there's
age group,
adult
yeah.
supervision at the second entrance, so that would
Always.
just
But
continue.
for East Meadow
Always.
now, there's only one entrance.
No, there's 2.
There's 2 parents
No, there's
drop off
2.
on the side.
Yeah,
Yep, and they actually pick up on the side.
and there's
with
a
adult
staff member
supervision.
there, yep.
Yep.
Yeah, there's 2 at East
So you're
Meadow.
saying maybe another,
Like the last
just
5
keep this
minutes.
Because they had to
going.
separate the buses from the parents. That's
During
probably
the
why
morning.
it's new, because that was becoming too congested.
Were you tracing there the path the buses take in and out, and the path the cars take in and out?
Buses will come in
Come
here,
in here,
around, come out.
okay.
Cars come in, drop off, come out.
Yeah.
We have
Or
another one.
come out. This is a 2-way road, so they could do either way.
So that can be set up so that there's really no way for the cars coming in until the kids out way down below. Not having a long.
Yeah, I think you want
Down
to give them
here?
that flexibility in case they
You don't
want to or have to.
Well,
But-
the cars gotta keep going anyway. Cars can't stop before that. Cars can't turn around there, right?
Right, they would have to continue
Right.
moving.
So if
But
the
if-
cars can't turn around,
But I'm
But
saying
if
if
these
a
drop-off
parent,
spots are
if
taken.
a parent is in line and they're close enough to the front door, and by the way, I gotta go and I can just scoot around, I'm probably gonna say to them, get out, because I need to move on. So you may wind up at both, but I think if you could push the line of cars more towards the back,
Further up.
I think it might make it A, more efficient, and B,
More
give
flexible.
it more flexibility.
And the other piece of this is the pre-K kids, because those parents do need to park in then
Right.
walk them in.
Yeah, but most of the time, the pre-K kids, the day will start a little bit later for
Yeah.
them than the rest.
Yeah, so that doesn't.
Because
So
you've got
it's gotta
vans,
follow it.
because you've got vans bringing in kids with special needs and all of that kind of stuff, so they actually start a little bit later than the rest, just so that they're not in the midst of all of this.
Christian, I think you have an opportunity here to be putting a covered walkway on this as a design element that alleviates the two entrances. I also think with the massing, that you really need to identify what the entrance is, with that entrance being a high area or a very visible beacon, so there's no confusion. There's a lot of nooks and crannies in this by just the nature of how we're attaching to another building.
Right.
So if we can identify the entrance, number one, and then protect the students from walking in the rain or the snow, it's not going to be as much of a heartache for them getting up in line before they drop them off. And it can still be an internalized or an element to the architecture, or it can be a covered walkway that is part of that design.
We'll see some of those.
Okay.
We might as well keep going with site plan, I'll go back, but we wanted to look at two things. One is that in this scheme, we're already looking at doing some work at the high school to add more parking. And we were thinking with Berkshire Design Group, instead of spending that money here, maybe we spend that money to make this circulation work a little bit better on that part of the site. So instead of having the new spaces out here, what if we had those new spaces here and kind of formalized that site circulation in hopefully a more, a better way than it is now. So this is one option where still that we have the bus drop off here and still we have the parent drop off here. The only thing we've really changed is parking over there and this kind of awkward loop here, to extending that loop and adding that parking that we still want in that area instead.
So what
If
happened
there's
to
any
the high
kind of-
school drop-off?
What's that?
What happened to the high school drop-off? Now, just we block that little turnabout that we have currently. So they go all the way to the new school and then come back? Is that what it is?
Well, and the other thing too is that
Berkshire Design.
that loop in front of the high school is how the buses come in. They come in the high school driveway, do the loop, and go around that way to drop off the high school kids.
And how does the auto drop off work?
Some people pull in the parking lot behind the high school and drop them off there. Some people do it sort of along the driveway. It's interesting in the morning.
Okay, so
But
we
a
didn't
lot of the
necessarily-
kids, a lot of the kids, obviously, pretty much all of the seniors and
Have
once
their
the
own
juniors
car.
get their licenses, they're just coming in and going off to the side anyway, so.
But that is a good idea of getting more spaces, it's just that,
That makes it a little trickier for the buses for the high school.
right, but maybe if there were two islands, maybe if there was a, in between, I mean, getting more spaces over there where the parents are gonna be doing drop-offs, because when parents do drops-offs, some of them are not in a rush, and some of them walk their kids in, and, I don't know, I don't know, just,
Yeah, but I think it's just a case of being cognizant of traffic flow for the
put some
secondary.
here.
yeah, it would be a good idea, but you can't, like she says, you can't block off that loop for the buses. But it's not a bad idea to take some away of that, that's just grass and field.
I liked how this sort of tied the schools together.
Yeah, I'm just
Theoretically.
concerned about the high school buses having to swing around and whether
Yeah,
or
they wouldn't
not.
want to go that much further. than-
Right.
In case of any kind of emergency evacuation, do any of these create any bottlenecks?
Well, we'll ask our landscape architect.
Yeah.
I would not see, because of the separate bus drop-off there, I would not see that, because if we had to do an emergency evacuation that required busing, and I would sign off on an agreement with, and that as we get to doing an emergency operations plan, that's next on the list. Having an agreement with First Student to say, in the event that we have to physically evacuate off campus, how fast, how many buses can they get here? Would pretty much, knowing Joni said, well, she would activate the whole fleet that she has to come over and do whatever needed to be done if everybody had to be removed
Can you
from
go,
campus.
Yeah.
go back to the
Can
other
we
one?
go to the next one too, just to confuse you more?
yeah,
Wait,
let's-
can I ask one more
get-
question?
So in terms of the bottleneck,
Yes.
John, if elementary buses are coming here to pick up kids and there's a separate fleet of buses going to the high school, that should not bother each other in terms of, we would not encourage parents to come get their kids in the event of an evacuation. We would have a reunification site off campus.
So Judy, but in the big loop, since the high school buses come first, I mean, how much bigger really,
Is this?
yeah, because there's supposedly nobody at East Meadow
Yeah.
yet,
Right.
when the high school buses get there. So really, is that an issue?
Again, it would depend on how much, I guess my concern is where they first come in and they have to swing around, is just making sure that we're cognizant that they've got enough room to turn.
Well, can we, or can they just all use,
They are, because I already talked to Berkshire Design, and they were out there doing a site visit, and they noticed that the East Meadow buses currently come in this way,
yeah?
and then half of them go out this way, and half of them come back out this way. And when they go through that parking lot, that left turn, they usually don't make. So they're already cognizant of turning radiuses.
But doesn't it make more sense to have more parking in between, in the middle of the campus, than, like you said, adding it way over by the outside of the high
It
school?
gives flexibility
Yeah, I
to
agree.
both schools.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I just think we have to be cognizant of buses. and
Right,
turning radiuses.
exactly.
So then, another idea is that make this the bus drop off and this the parent drop off. And the advantage of this is that the buses are only here
Temporarily,
for
yeah.
a little while, and then
Right.
it's sort of clear and.
Boy, that kind of makes sense. That really makes a lot more
They
sense.
tend to come in two waves, it's like 4 and then 3, depending on where they're coming from.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good, so they could be right here.
Yeah, so that might-
Should we leave enough space for 7?
I would say,
It's a long
Yeah.
thing at stretch.
yeah, they don't all come at the same time. It's
Because that would be
usually,
good, you could,
because they could drop off and then go around in front of the high school and
Yeah.
come out.
But what about pickup? Right. And don't they all come at the same time for pickup?
Yeah,
oh.
they would. I mean, they would, you know,
So you
Yeah.
need 7.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
To me, this makes more sense because the buses are more likely to be able to pull up where closest to the building as possible. Whether that entrance is the front entrance or whether that entrance is this entrance. It just seems like there's a little bit more flexibility there for them to get in the ideal position and let the pairing drop off happen more haphazardly out in front of the
And which it
building.
does, right? The bus, when the buses drop off and pick up, it's very organized and linear. Yeah, when the parents do it, it's a circus.
Well, and the other thing too is that, you know, now that I'm looking at this, where you had the bus drop off in that parking lot,
Yeah.
and knowing that one of my great bugaboos is people who like to pass buses with their reds on, even in a parking lot, which I
Yeah,
jumped
that's
out in
good.
front of a car a
Right.
couple of weeks ago and said, "Excuse me, sir?" You know, so not having, if a parent wanted to come into that visitor section of the parking lot there,
Yeah.
drop off their child and go into school because they've got business
Yeah.
to do or whatever, then you're not worrying about them
Yeah.
trying to pass buses and deal with all of that.
Yeah.
So that might actually be better all the way around.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah.
In this design, when we have it this way, I don't know how wide that road is gonna be.
Yeah.
Is it gonna block the cars that might be
No,
there for other
because-
purposes?
We're putting this island there.
Oh, you are?
So that means that, and there's a technical name for it, I forget what it's called, but it means that once the bus is here, all the cars can keep going. Whereas in the other one, you can't.
Wow, something
Right.
has to be out there
This
directing
one.
traffic
Right.
first.
There is no way by.
It's like being a Choctaw. This is how you drive.
But this one, right, you don't want any cars in there, that's for sure. But you could have signage, you know.
you're gonna have to have people out there.
But this means a car can keep going and go park there.
Thank you.
Do we have another variation, or this one just?
This is just with the bent building, but I think it's pretty much the same idea. The only one that's
Yeah.
largely different is keep going one more.
Oh, this is the mouth. Is it responding to that?
Yes.
Yeah.
But again, I think that the buses and the parent drop-off could switch. They're
Yeah.
flopping this. But we kind of like the idea of having the parking lot respond to the building and be a little bit more organic in shape than the rest of the other.
But it takes up
Lots.
more space.
A little bit.
No.
No.
Maybe
It's
not.
actually able to get
Has
closer to
less-
the building there, right?
Yeah.
Hugs the building and.
Yeah.
Is that the only option that allows two different ways to exit from the front of the new school? I see that little bifurcation right there.
That's sidewalk.
Nope, not that one.
Oh, this,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
That's
sidewalk.
sidewalk?
Yeah.
Okay.
The cars and buses, well, the buses are doing this, like they did before. And the cars theoretically, but you could
Switch
well,
it.
you could switch it, right, yeah.
Can I just ask a question on some of these?
Yeah.
Plowing. Where are you piling snow during plowing operations?
Here,
And
here.
But how about on 2C?
Well, that's the one, she didn't get her chance to put it on.
No, I'm just saying because it just seems, it seems
Right,
with a
right.
bigger parking area, you got more snow to put somewheres.
Yeah, you could maybe a batch there, a batch here.
No, I'm just because that's gonna be the first thing my highway super is gonna say is, where am I putting the snow?
Right. So it's gotta be on the plan, make sure it gets on the plan.
Okay, right, definitely. I mean, I don't think either one is easier to plow necessarily. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's not about the, how you plow, it's about, like he says, it's about where you put the snow.
Yeah.
Because you wanna look at a big pile of snow as you first drive into the truck.
Yeah, you don't.
You know, that's all, it's just,
Yeah.
One in Boston just melted.
yeah, I know.
I heard it wasn't gonna melt.
Oh, finally did,
Yeah.
2 days ago, yeah.
It's mostly garbage.
Garbage, yeah.
Thank God they didn't put it in the harbor. So is there a basic preference for the buses here and the cars here?
I put the buses on the side of the
Yeah.
island.
Yeah.
Now that I
really
look at
makes
that,
sense.
yep, absolutely.
Great.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Fantastic. I'm glad we.
Yay, decision. Okay. Oops,
Yeah, keep going back.
you're confusing me. So many choices. Okay, take it away.
Well, maybe I should just leave it here for a little bit. You can see, so basically in all of the massing options except for the one I started with, we do have a walkway going across the front there. So that was 1A. This is an option on 1B, which was matching the gym running north-south. So we have a large shed roof that's responding to that, and then the stage is off to the east of it. So we have a shed roof, but slightly lower down on that side. Again, that would allow for some high windows up into the gym, so you could get daylight from both sides. We do have a porch that wraps around from the front entry across both of those masses and helps break up that southern facade a little bit. On this one, for the classroom wing, we're showing a flat roof, very similar to East Meadow, but we did want to input the idea of having a raised kind of monitor, again, running down the length of the hallway, which could have some high, narrow windows on it, thin windows on it, letting some daylight spill into that hallway there. That's about it on that version.
Two concerns I have with that one is this lower sloped roof coming towards the building and snow load.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
And
Yeah.
also the windows on the flat roof and snow load.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of snow load, the structural engineer, you'll never have to shovel these roofs, right? It's not how the code's written, it's pretty much impossible that you would have to go up there to shovel them. So in terms of water runoff, I think that's a valid concern for sure. But in terms of it being structurally sound for snow load, even with drifting and snow from other roofs, that shouldn't be a concern.
Kristen, I have to tell you that, I've got gray hair, and I've made a lot of money filling all these windows in when they leak. And I'm very concerned that you're proposing a lot of these windows, that we went to this scheme so we could get this building up and wouldn't have to go back and maintain it. I would hate to think we're putting in a lot of windows that are all going to leak at the top of these roofs.
Right.
I'm trusting your judgment, but
Yeah. No, I mean, I think
it's going to be old by the time they come back and fix them, so. But I really think we got to think about this.
yeah.
It's a terrible problem.
I think that's a concern maybe more with this version than with this version right here. You've got a
Certainly that
roof
one
sloping
is, yeah.
away from it.
Wow, yes.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Leak,
This one or the other one?
that one on the bottom.
On the bottom.
Yeah, down there.
With the flat and just the raised.
Yeah, the plan just a bit.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
the problem. That's a nightmare.
Two-way, so again, this one is responding to that gym running east-west. And then we've got the administration in front with a shed roof on it that continues out to become a covered porch area. And this one, Alan, you kind of mentioned kind of celebrating the front entrance. We've done that a little bit here by tipping that roof up, so it really has kind of a major presence coming out the south there. Here we have a simple gable roof going over, a low slope gable roof over the classrooms. We have indicated a couple of skylights where it would be nice for where the hallways intersect.
We'll put them on really big curves.
We had 5 feet of snow last year.
I know. But they're on pitch. So.
They're on curves, they're on a pitch, and they are up right near the ridge too, which makes me feel better about it as well.
And this one you get a lot of porch along the admin.
Right.
Might be a little noisy to the office staff. They're not there that long.
And then the last one, this one's showing all kind of flat roofs on varying levels, very much like East Meadow. We've got the gym and then the stage steps down, administration, and then it pops back up for the main entry in that main hallway. We're also showing some shading elements that are anchored to these bump outs from the shared spaces between the classrooms. And another porch kind of along that facade of the administration. Again, that's tying into that front entry area as well. So, lots of options.
I like option 1B for the floor plan.
For the floor.
I think if you're going to be, now putting the buses on the side, how are we going to get the kids in there? I think that's the only other question I would have now, because we were originally looking at buses dropping them off at the front, which would have been nice for the traffic flow, getting kids back to the current East Middle School. But with the busing coming in on the side, how are we going to get the kids in there?
For 1B,
Yeah.
I think that
front
lots
door.
of these options, but we would do a covered walkway extending out this way, and then we would have this. I don't know if I would have that covered because of the effect I would have on that courtyard in general and the cafeteria, but we could certainly have a secondary walkway there just to
Yeah.
provide that option.
I was like 1B, I think it's much easier for the traffic flow of getting the kids in and out, so.
I think 2A is more appropriate for us. I think it's a different shape, but I think because it's more of what we're talking about in our community here, we've got a better lobby. The gymnasium is more accessible with a couple of doors. The music is on the back side of the building, which sometimes is going to have its own private deliveries when we're doing private shows. The administration is right by the front door. It's very secure. The courtyard is there. I think that the traffic flow is about the same on all of these. If you take the approach that the buses are coming up to the side, I think the approaches are there. I think 2A gives us a better working floor plan and may even give us a more attractive building on the outside, as long as he doesn't put windows in a snowstorm.
Well, I was going to comment that seeing the side view of the gym is probably more aesthetically appealing than the wall.
I just think the 2A, that's just my personal opinion. Please don't let me talk you into anything.
And the thing I like about 2A as well, 2A or 2B, is that the nurse is right in with the office. It's not across the hallway.
So Jim, why would you do 2A and not 2B? Because they're pretty similar,
Well, they're pretty similar. It's just that
except for the music room.
I like the music from on the back side. You know, if they're out-of-town productions and stuff, they may want to come in and out the back door with stage and music, things like that, the drums and the amplifiers and all that kind of stuff. It seems that sometimes you may want to do that. And that it's a little cleaner mechanical room back there, and you know the other one here, it's a little, you got some jigs and jags, so it just seemed that it flowed a little bit more, but I could go in either direction. I just think that opening that lobby up and making it more accessible for not only during the day and the evening. I mean, you've got to line all these kids up that are getting in on the bus. They got to line up somewhere, so if it's raining or they're going to line up in that lobby. And if we're going to have town meeting, we're all going to be out there, and people are going to need space to sell their cookies and everything else, so you need to have a lobby up there in front.
I think the 2A also allows you a couple ways in and out of the gymnasium, and also the music room being on an outside wall deadens the sound.
Yeah, it functions a lot better over there. That's just a personal opinion.
I mean, it's funny because, you know, we've been working on these plans for a while, and I hadn't even realized that, John, your question earlier about how many entrances into the gymnasium, that
It might be an illusion, but I'm not sure how 2A has more lobby space than 1B.
It
Because of
doesn't
the odd
actually.
shape.
Probably in square footage it doesn't, but it has it all in one space. It's not behind a corner and down a hallway and stuff like that. It's all right there.
it'd be easier to open that lobby space to the gym so that it would feel even larger.
And the other thing about having the nurse in the same area as the office, parents need to check in the office. So you're gonna have parents going to the nurse's office without checking in the office and then keeping track of who's where and what's what. So if the nurse is right in that complex, I think that makes for a little easier monitoring the activity. And I agree with you, Jim, that the difference between 2A and 2B, it seems a little less cut up than putting the stage on the other side.
Yeah.
And you won't necessarily hear the music as much in the lobby if you have
Yeah, it's kind of nice. You know, this is, it's not the BSO here.
Squeak and squawk.
Those are the gym office, yeah.
Having taught that in my day. A lot of squeak and squawk.
Still remember our Neil Diamond songbook.
What are those?
Art used to know that.
What are
We
those
got
two
the
little rooms?
resurrection for dedication.
They're the gym office and some storage, so
Gym storage.
probably not ideal to have it across the way. We might move the, I don't know, we don't want to mess that up, but is there a full-time gym teacher?
There would be.
Yeah.
Stick on the other side.
Yeah, I think we can put some more storage here. This is slightly oversized for a music classroom.
I don't know, I was used on wheels.
Oh, really?
Anywhere I work.
What do you need from us tonight?
The general preference? I think You know, or at least narrow it down to 2.
I like 2A. Personally.
Or 1.
Or one, or right, if it seems like we're favoring 2A, then what about the others could we incorporate into 2A to make it?
Well, to some of
Even
Chris's
better.
comments, I think there was some value in the 1B that you saw, that if we could start incorporating some of those into the 2A, if possible. Maybe that's done with just covered walkways, more covered walkways around the other side of the west end of the building.
Yeah. Great.
And did people like the wing of 2B?
Right, how it juts out?
Yeah.
Yeah, and because there's that breakout
Did you
space
see that
right
part?
there.
Yeah.
And that breakout space.
Yeah, and that's probably important in that long corridor.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
Because that's what's wrong with East Meadow right now, right? Is these long corridors without breakout spaces. So we don't want to make that mistake again.
Great.
And Judy, do you think it's okay to have that much sped onto the courtyard? Or does anybody have an opinion about that? I mean, OTPT, it's not something you want to look at necessarily. I mean, is there anything that you would want to showcase?
As you come in the door here,
Educationally?
that's
Yeah.
in that lobby area.
We often put the library right there, but you can't here.
So the music stage storage,
You can't-
what, is that just a simple stage that will not be used for any other purpose?
It's a stage, we were thinking right now that it would have kind of a modern fold or some kind of folding wall between the stage and the gymnasium so that it could be sealed off and used as a music classroom or opened up and used as a stage.
So if it is used as a music classroom in this option, how do the students go to that?
Right down this hallway here.
Okay.
And I'm assuming that whatever you use to separate it off, because there would be kids having gym class at the same
Right.
time as music class, that there would be some soundproofing.
Yeah.
Right. It's not going to
It's
be
kind of expensive.
as good of a wall, but that'd be pretty good.
So I guess what I was wondering about these functions, should we move this down and not have that common space, or is it important for the kindergarten to have this common space?
It isn't, because again, kindergartners, the likelihood of them being out in the hall randomly
Oh.
is slim and none.
You can't.
So push that down.
Yeah, I know the average 5-year-old. No.
And so that could be kind of like
Open that
the
up.
living room into the courtyard or seating area. So that would even make the
Lobby
A
lobby
little
bigger.
more
Yeah.
welcoming. Yeah.
It's nice to have, so in that pink there that you were just pointing at, that's OTPT.
Mhm.
I think it's really nice to have that in the front of the building, showcased, because right now it's in the, there's a lot of things that, well, not anymore, but it used to go on in the basement, right? I mean, it just seems more inclusive and better.
Great.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on the massing? We'll stay away from windows that can be filled with snow. We will try to accentuate the front door and make it a nice covered walkway for students coming in from the west.
Yeah,
something
covered
like
walkways
as well.
don't have to be shoveled either.
Yeah.
So the slanted one, 2A,
Yep.
if we do have a lot of snow, isn't that gonna be dripping right as the kids walk in? Icicles and all that stuff? Because it's sliding down towards the...
Right.
Yep.
We're going to extend that past.
But we'll make them go in the porch.
Yeah. We could extend that past, extend a little bit further so it could get in front of the front door there a little bit better. That's a good point.
You could always stand
Or make
off the
the-
covered walkway too. and make it a feature.
You could what?
Stand it off from the building.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
an independent
Yeah.
covered walkway that,
Which is good for thermal bridging too, and
Yes.
Right.
yeah, a whole host of other. Yes.
And then can we get their opinion about the jut outs? Do we have
Oh, for the
proposed
shared
jut outs?
spaces between the classrooms?
Yeah.
Um,
Any feelings about that? Whether they go down to the ground or they're just more bay window kind of thing?
Are there any maintenance problems which are being created by some of these signs?
By having a bay space? No, not really. I mean, the massing's pretty simple, really. There we have it. You need something to break up that long wall.
Either way is architecturally pleasing.
Yeah.
Think about it from the inside.
Yeah.
Do you want just a window that, or do you
That's
want
what
a
they
whole
like,
area?
the plank blocker.
right. That could be kind of a seat.
Yeah,
Right.
window seat.
well, that was the visioning session that we had, that you showed
What?
the dimension.
Can you walk us
Wouldn't
back?
window seats be more expensive?
Can you walk us back through this again? Because you've confused me already. Go ahead,
Well,
start with the
We're
windows.
doing that on purpose.
You're doing a good job.
I mean, this was first flush, so
No, I
we'll
just-
be back.
Just talking about the window, I'm just confused.
You want to go through the massing?
No,
again?
just the classroom windows we were just talking about.
Oh.
Okay, so we're talking about these shared spaces here that are between classrooms. And the idea is that these have double doors or sliding doors so that, you know, this classroom can use it as a breakout space, or this classroom can use it as a breakout space, or you can open the whole thing up and there could be a little bit of team teaching and a little bit of shared resources across. The idea is that it's right for small groups. And so one idea is that the whole portion that's coming south of the building, off of the building, that instead of our foundation going like this, you know, and following all those jigs and jags, that our foundation just goes as a straight wall, and these are cantilevered off of the building. With that structure, we would probably put a seat for the portion that's extending beyond the building, so that it would be kind of this seated area that's kind of more emphasized here and here. That there'd be a larger window on the outside of it.
Which face is the glass on?
South.
South.
Okay.
This front.
Right, okay, now I understand. Thank you.
Seated area, also a standing area?
Well, these are little kids, so,
Yeah.
I mean, for adults?
No, for little
No,
kids.
for the kids, they can
Yeah,
stand.
and here. Right.
It would just be window
It
seat
would just be an
along the
extension
edge.
of where they're standing.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Maybe stand on the seat.
Right.
Well, I would hope not, but anything's possible.
We're talking about little
5-year-old.
people,
Yep.
4 or 5-year-olds, 3, 4, 5. Yep. Be a fun time.
So,
Stand in the seat and jump off.
yeah, that might be a hazard then.
Well, it's not very high, so a foot on the ground.
What do you do outside? You can grow grass underneath or
No, you put gravel.
Be the little person to walk.
Yeah, that's right.
Little clown.
What do you do with the
Well,
kindergarten?
so
outside?
2B.
I did put it to work.
No, it's 2A,
Two
that's
baskets.
right.
Yeah.
2A, but maybe a separate covered porch element that extends further.
Right.
And we'll work on the window.
Yeah, well, make it clear, it's hard to see.
Great. I think we're,
Okay,
So we
yeah.
agreed on a massing?
Kind of. Well, we'll be back with you.
Right, this was just a
Just the start.
conversation, a start, right? You're gonna tweak and,
I have a question for all of you. We're going to be doing a mailing at the end of August. Am I going to be using option 2A as the plan? Or are we staying with the straight plan, square box that we've had all along?
we're meeting next,
The 20th.
August 20th.
Or we push our mailing out to September?
yeah. let's
Something
do
like that, I mean,
Yeah,
that's the
let's push
question.
it.
I don't want to inform the public of things that we don't,
Right.
we're not sure of yet. That's the
Yeah, let's
problem.
push it out.
I agree.
Yeah.
So we can be transparent, but we don't want to put information that confuses people.
Yes.
Especially if
We
we're
wanna
not
use-
sure.
But we don't use a plan we're not going to use.
Right.
Right, let's push that mailing out. We need more time for that.
Okay, that's fine.
Well, we can't mail anything until we make some clear decisions. so.
Right,
But
right,
it is your meeting as of tonight.
right.
It's a big one.
Yeah, big league.
Yeah, big lane, but.
A 20-degree lean. So if we keep pushing the plan of 2A forward, and we'll keep working on massing, and we'll keep working on the site plan from the input we got tonight, then I feel pretty confident that on August 20th, we could feel comfortable with the plan and the site plan. I don't know if I would include the massing or any exterior elevations yet, but I think that, we could feel comfortable with that and the mailing
We don't need, all we need is a concrete plan and a site.
and keep moving
Right.
forward.
Do we need a meeting in between those two? I mean, you really, I know you have a lot of work to do, but I don't think you want to get too far down that the 4 weeks from now with the design, that all of a sudden there's a retraction.
Right?
Would be, you could probably generate enough stuff in the next 2 weeks that if we met, it doesn't have to be a full-blown meeting, but
What's August 20th, our next meeting
it's
together?
on our schedule. I mean,
Okay.
we can pick any date we want, but I mean, if we
Alright.
wanted the next 2 weeks to have a meeting again to talk about development of 2A, to see that the architects are on the right track, I would think that's probably a smart thing to do so that we don't get to August 20th and say, oops.
Do some thinking for us everywhere about this jutting out, whether all the way to the ground makes more sense or a foot makes sense in terms of maintenance, hazardous,
Yeah,
different kinds of things
Yeah.
like that, both from the inside and the outside of the building.
I would agree with you, John.
Just let us know what the differences are there.
Okay.
Just a quick question. Let's say we took 2A, and instead of the angle, we pushed it up. I think right now, some things that we liked in that design, they're because of the interior layout. How things are put together and where they're located and all that. I'm still trying to understand the advantage of having that angle. Is it just aesthetics, or is it really providing us anything else? Because regardless of what it is really pushing that corner of the building out. I wonder if it's going to cause some changes to the outside and the circulation outside as well. I don't really have a clear understanding of that, but I'm wondering if we did not have that, and it was the same square look.
You just straighten it out.
Right, straighten it out. What would change there? What would be the difference really? Because we like the interior layout, I get it, and I like it too.
Well, the lobby would just get bigger,
Get bigger.
Right.
much bigger.
Right.
Or smaller.
I think that was
Yeah,
incorporating
that's back in,
the
it
music
would
room
become
was to get
tiny.
the music room to the outside.
I mean, I think there's a few things that it does for us. One is that if we open it, if we rotated it straight again, and we kept that width of the lobby constant, then our gross square footage is way over what we want it to be, right? So in this way, it allows that lobby to open up and still has a fair amount of space up here, while still kind of keeping our square footage reasonable. Personally, I also like the idea of entering a space and feeling a little bit constricted at the beginning, not constricted, but slightly, and then having it expand as you come into the space. I think that's going to have a much nicer feeling than if it was constant or if it got more constricted as you went further into the space. The other thing it does is it's going to break up our massing a little bit from both the south and the west. You'll see two corners of that building instead of one flat facade. And that's really how you see this building, especially from Route 202, is, as you see East Meadow right now, it is just one wall. And the high school is kind of similar. It's got a little bit of a mass breakover on the left. But I think that would help. And then the final thing it does is I think it does help with some of that daylighting to the cafeteria in that space. So
That actually is
it
the
look-
biggest advantage that I see to that design.
It looks different, and unless it looks beautiful, the question is always going to be, why did you do that? Why did you angle things instead of create them like buildings usually And so you need a very good set of
Yeah,
answers, because
right.
we're going to get asked it over and over and over
Right,
again.
well, after they see plain school,
Right, but
they'll think this is like nothing.
no, but this,
I was
but this
thinking
is
that.
modern architecture. You know, when you just said this, well, buildings usually look rectangle, that's not true anymore. They don't usually look rectangle anymore. So I think that, you know, I mean, forget about aesthetics, it's just not, we just don't make buildings like in rectangles anymore. But aside from that, I mean, aside from aesthetics, there's a lot of value to that, having that open lobby space. And a lot of value in having the one whole edge of the gym be open to the lobby. That's huge important.
And I also think on the site plan, it welcomes you to the combined school. Let's see, where is that? It's not
I guess we
really-
block the back.
This one? I mean, it isn't quite, what, 2C, you think?
No, it's not that one.
I mean, I think it says to people coming this way that there's a new school here. And that we've unified it. And you can, you know, the entry is very clear, it sort of recognizes the one part of this school that's aesthetically pleasing. And it says that it's a 21st century school.
Right, right.
Without being, you know, a
Without being
crazy
too,
monument.
right,
Yeah.
too crazy. I mean, we're just talking about taking a rectangle and twisting the end. It's very modern yet traditional.
Restrained.
Yes, restrained, because we're in Granby, so.
Great, well, we're happy to do a meeting in 2 weeks. I also feel like there's been a fair amount of direction from tonight, so
It's up to you folks.
that's pretty consistent, so I
Really, think we need to meet 2 weeks or?
What's the
I
date?
mean, do you think that the one reason
July
maybe
30th.
if there were
30th
people
or
here
August
that
6th?
aren't, I mean, people who
I
aren't
won't be
Weeks is
here,
actually
not buy in.
July 30th.
That's fine.
Not worried that much about buying.
On the 8th, I don't have a problem.
Okay.
The week of the 8th, before this one. Anything up to August 8th, I don't know about anybody else.
I won't be here August 6th.
But what will you have in 2 weeks to show us? Is that enough time to show us anything new?
Well, we're better with a little more time. quite
20 is
frankly.
fine with us, I think, fine with me.
I mean,
We can still do this one.
Yeah.
We can still make this work from this standpoint, working with these guys. Kristen will spend Labor Day working on this, if that's all right.
So labor.
people have had a vacation.
Right, Labor Day, yes. Happy to work over
Done with
it.
I
this
don't know.
Iron Man.
You think if we come on the 20th that we could still get type of brochure we're talking about out by the first part of September?
I think it'd be good in that interim period if we can work on the wording. I think that takes longer than putting in the graphics.
I've got
right?
some of that information, I'll start getting it to you.
I think that's the more difficult
I
part.
don't care how we go.
So the next meeting is August 20th here?
August 20th.
Where?
East Meadow. We'll be back to East
Back in East Meadow.
It's gonna be open on August 20th?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll open it. That's not a problem. Any cafeteria? I would assume.
Is that where that
Yes, that's fine.
All right, any other business?
Cafeteria rather than the library.
Take a chair.
Cafeteria had a better screen. if we're doing-
Yeah, had a better screen access, better seats, I don't want to see the little figures. Okay,
East Meadow Cafeteria, August 20th, 6 or 6:30?
6:30.
6:30.
Is that what we normally meet at?
that's our normal meeting time unless we have a public outreach.
Okay.
All right, any other business comes before the committee? Sounds good, next meeting date done, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Andrea, second, all those in favor?